Bad Brad Berkwitt Show is all about moving humanity forward and fighting for democracy. And remember, folks, every act of kindness is a little love we leave behind. Hey, folks, the man with the pinky ring and the New York thing. Forget about it. Bad Brad Berkwitt. And welcome to the Bad Brad Berkwitt Show on the Ringside Report web TV channel. Forget about it. My guest tonight is the gentleman who recently had me on his popular show, The 5-8, with co-host Stephanie L.B. Koff. He's a best-selling author and journalist. His recent book actually drops today and is called Rough Beast. Here is the cover art of it. I will be getting it in the mail, and I will be doing a review on the Bad Brad Berkwitt Show as soon as I get done reading it. And it says, who Donald Trump really is, what he'll do if reelected, why democracy must prevail. So without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to my show for the first time, doing a 360 conversation, Greg Olear. Forget about it. Well, first of all, good evening, Greg, and welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me, Brad. Great to be here.
Absolutely. I appreciate you having me on last month on your show and looking forward to this 360 conversation. For the viewers, we talked a little bit offline, and I want him to show you his shirt. And I'm not going to say who directed this movie, but if you watch this show, put it in the comments and let's see who gets it right. Go ahead, show him your shirt.
Here's the shirt. There's two answers. There's two different answers, really.
Okay.
So, yeah, that's it.
And if I remember, that character's name wasn't it Vampira?
I haven't seen it in a long time.
Okay,
so
I'm pretty sure that was the character.
You're probably right. Yeah, I think you're right. I think it says on here. I think it says Vampira on my shirt. It does.
All right. Well, since this is your first time of hopefully many, we're going to do a 360 tonight. So it's a little bit different than shows that we'll do in the future.
Okay.
Always start at the beginning, and I start out like this with every guest that comes on my show. If I have anything wrong in my notes, not be shy to say, hey, Brad, it's actually this, because the military in me wants it to be as factually correct as it can be.
Okay.
Okay? So we're going to start at the beginning. It looks like you were born in Madison, New Jersey, and grew up there?
Yep. I mean, technically, I was born in the hospital down the road, but yes, Madison is my hometown. Yeah.
Okay, and a little note for the viewers. Madison is noted for its historic railroad station. The station is located on Morris and Essex lines, located on the Morris and Essex lines, which is one of the nation's first commuter railroads. I'm sure you know something about that. Talk about that and that time growing up there.
If you've seen The World According to Garp, there's a scene where she's out on the in front of the train station, and I think somebody gets shot in that scene. But that's in downtown Madison. It's an interesting town. The John D. Rockefeller's brother, William Rockefeller, who owned a significant portion of stock in Standard Oil, but unlike John D., did not give his money away to charity at all, gave it all to his kids. And one of his kids was Geraldine, who married a guy named Dodge, and she lived there in Madison and endowed, I think, the train station, City Hall, all this kind of stuff. And her estate was there, and the Standard Oil headquarters was. I could walk there from my house. It's in Florham Park technically, but now the Jets trained there on that land. But at the time, and for a long time, it was the headquarters of Standard Oil, kind of like the original evil empire company, I suppose. And right down the street. Not that it mattered, but so that's it. So Madison, nice town. Politically, maybe a little more conservative than I like these days. Tucker Carlson always lived in D.C. In the 1 year he was in New York doing whatever he was doing, he lived in Madison. So I think he was probably felt okay there. So, but it's great. It's a great little town, and really a nice place to grow up. Certainly.
It's interesting. He went from Madison to Russia. Boy, what a difference, Tucker, huh?
Yeah.
Different change of scenery for old Tuckums.
Yeah.
Okay. It looks like you got your Bachelor of Arts in English Literature from Georgetown University in December 1994. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. Greg, talk about that time in your life.
Well, yeah, I mean, I went to school there, and the reason I chose to go to school there is because I like the colors of the sweatshirt. and these things are important. And I always liked DC. I always had a good time when I went to visit Washington, and it's really a great city, like almost in spite of all the politics stuff happening. All the stuff on the it has a nice art scene. It has really good restaurants. Georgetown, the neighborhood is really cool and pretty, and it's just nice and fun. So yeah, so I got in, so I went there, and I thought maybe I was gonna do something in politics for my career, because a lot of people go there and they have internships on the Hill. And after like 3 days of seeing who works in politics, I was like, no fucking way, I'm not doing this. And that was the end. That was the end of that. But it's people do like my roommate, who we all thought was going to go into politics and wound up not. But he had all these internships. He was interning for Richard Neal, who's now the head of Ways and Means, but at the time was I think, a new congressman. And I was like, nobody's heard of this guy. If you're not interning for Ted Kennedy, I don't give a shit. I don't want to hear it. So then he did wind up interning for Ted Kennedy, and he almost killed Ted Kennedy's dog because it ran away off the leash into the road. And fortunately, the dog did not die. Otherwise, he would have had to go live with Kristi Noem. But but it's kind of funny that he almost, if you know him, it's kind of funny that he almost killed Ted Kennedy's dog. So I've been to a party with Ted Kennedy where there was only like 25 people there, 30 people, maybe something.
23
like
of them were women?
No, no, it wasn't like that at all. And I think I was 19, and like I was hammered drunk and he was sober. So it was a very strange night. Yeah.
Well, that is strange, because usually he'd be hammered drunk and you would be sober.
That's what I'm saying.
Great politician, though. Out of curiosity, when I worked in Northwest off of Nebraska Avenue, at the time it was the Naval Security Station. Now it's Department of Homeland Security headquarters, where the old Naval Security Station base was. So we would go over Key Bridge to the light, make a left, and right there there was, in fact, at the time you graduated, because I got there in '91, there was an Exxon gas station there, and your famous,
I know it well.
Did you ever take a picture by the Exorcist stairs?
Oh my God! Not only did we take a picture by the Exorcist stairs, that was the shortcut to go to the liquor store to get the beer.
There you go.
So, yeah, no, I was up and down those. I was up and down those stairs all the time. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now I'm gonna read something we'll talk about on the other side. When I did your show and doing research for this show, I didn't realize that we share being half Italian. And it looks like your great grandmother immigrated from a town close to Naples, Italy. Is that right so far?
So far, yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. Well, my great grandfather Frank came from Naples as well and wound up in Racine, Wisconsin. That's where a lot of my Italian side lives. So I want to ask you a question off of that, knowing now that you're half Italian.
Okay.
Some question off of this talking point. When you hear that racist son of a bitch say immigrants are poisoning our blood, what goes through your mind?
I mean, it's just stupid. I don't feel anything about it because of my Italianness, but certainly Italian people were discriminated against in this country, but not very long ago. And one could, if one were sensitive about such things, make the case that it's the lone ethnic group that you're just allowed to make fun of and stereotype, and nobody cares. It's like you can't stereotype this, but you could be like, "Hey Mario, get to the pizza," and everyone laughs and it's fine. So I think that's sort of amusing. But the whole, what makes this country great is the fact that people come here from other countries, and they don't come here because they're powerful or rich or stuff like that. They come from other countries because usually they've been forced out for some reason. Either they're discriminated against, or they're poor and they're coming here to make a new life for themselves, or they're religious groups that are persecuted or whatever. When people come here to this country, that's why they come. And we've managed in the United States to take what's basically a group of people that are not winners on that side of anywhere else, and combine them all together and win. That's what we've done. And to me, that's so it's inspiring, because it really means that it has nothing to do with where you're from or what your ethnicity is, or if you have the right kind of mentality and, a belief in the democratic ideals and stuff like that, you can come here and contribute to a great society. And I think it's always been this way. It's also, there have always been people like Donald Trump who attack immigrants. Remember the Know Nothing Party in New York in like the 1850s was, or whatever, in the mid 19th century, you know, is very much, you know, we have nativists and stuff like that. And all these immigrants are destroying everything. And this is, as long as this country's been here, there's been anti-immigration sentiment. So it's nothing new. It's just dumb and ignorant. And that's basically my attitude towards it.
Okay. I get a little disappointed with we in our household, we don't paint broad strokes. We never say one person ruins the whole group. But I am disappointed in some Italians that I've gotten through with, that they align themselves with Trump. And you alluded to it earlier. When my family came here, they saw in the stores in New York City, Italians do not need to apply. They stamped, you know, we know that the racial thing, when they stamped it, WAP was without papers. They know what they dealt with in the past. Now Trump comes along and they align themselves. It's almost like they've assimilated to MAGA, some, and then some don't. Or the hypocrisy of they could quote every Robert De Niro line from every movie, from Goodfellas to Taxi Driver to Cape Fear and on, and Goodfellas. I said Goodfellas, on and on. But the minute he said, fuck Trump, which is his American right to do, then he's a dog, he's a mutt, he's this, they're throwing the DVDs in a can and burning it, they're posters, which is ridiculous because of the hypocrisy of they can say what they want, but our side, there's no freedom of speech doesn't exist. So I'm glad that what you said about Italians coming here. But I want to ask you.
There's a lot.
Go ahead.
That was just embarrassing Italians. Some embarrassing New Jersey Italians. Some embarrassing New Jersey Italians who grew up Catholic that really offend me to my soul. Leonard Leo and Sam Alito, and it's just I can't believe it's like our people that are responsible for so much woe. Yeah, you know, and not to mention, and Giuliani isn't from New Jersey, but he's still Italian.
Wait a second. Did you see today? If not, I'll send it to you when we get done. Where he was doing the Zoom call for his, I guess, his arraignment or whatever, and he was pissing. He didn't mute the call.
No.
He was taking a leak. I mean,
he probably did it on purpose.
No, and he didn't know. Well, he's probably drunk because he stays. You know, he's 8 sheets. He's not even 3 sheets when he's 8. Okay. In 2018, you wrote the book "Dirty Rubles: An Introduction to Trump Russia." When I saw the title in doing research for the show, I wondered, out of curiosity, did they use it in the Mueller investigation that went from May 2017 to March 2019 for anything? Just out of curiosity.
What, the term or
your book? Did they use it for anything? No, nothing at all.
No. My book came out in May of 2018, and the Mueller report came out in April of 2019. And when the Mueller report came out, I was basically looking through my book. It was like I was getting the answers to my test back, you know, to see how much stuff I got right. And the answer is pretty much mostly everything. Not every single thing, but enough. And, you know, it's interesting because there's so much, you know, bashing of the press, and rightly so, because the mainstream media generally is horrible in the upper levels, you know, with the punditry and the corporate executives who control all the, you know, push for this way and that way. But everything that we found out about the Mueller investigation and Trump and Russia, we found out because of the media. You know, with the New York Times, the Washington Post, or the Wall Street Journal, or McClatchy, or whatever. There were really good journalists doing really good work, you know, that I used to just sort of put the book together. And that book is just, you know, what's complicated about the whole Trump universe is that it's so vast. And if you're trying to follow it, like by reading newspapers, you're like, okay, Paul Manafort did this thing. And then you don't hear about Paul Manafort again for 6 months. And something else might happen that's in like a different section of the newspaper. Don Jr. gets divorced, and that's like in page 6 of the New York Post. But all of these things are related, and they have to be, you know, taken together, sort of looked at in the correct way to understand or explain what happened. And that's what I try to do with that book. And that's what I'm trying to do with the new book also, you know, try to take all of the disparate points and, you know, crank them out in a way that makes people really see the big picture.
Okay. Read something we'll talk about on the other side. You began co-hosting a weekly online live news review chat, the 5-8, with our buddy Stephanie L.B. Koff in April 2022, described as where we take 5 of the week's most notable, newsworthy, and effed up topics and spend 8 minutes covering each one. So my question is, with a little over 2 years on the air with your show, tell the viewers how's it going and where to find it.
I can't believe it's been that long. It's really crazy. I've lost all track of time, by the way, since COVID. I don't know about you, but
Me
I've
too.
lost all track of time. So we do this show every Friday, and we used to be on a show during the quarantine where we'd go on Fridays, and then that show came to an end, and we decided to start our own. Kind of towards the end of the quarantine, and Friday night is a weird night. Like I don't like to go out on Friday generally. I'm usually kind of tired and I don't feel like leaving the house. And even when I was young and went out a lot, I didn't like to go out on Fridays. I felt like it was like amateur night. Like you go out Thursday, you go out Saturday, Friday, you stay home, watch basketball or whatever. So
Huh.
what we found is that, a lot of people do stay home and people would tune in and watch our show, it's called the 5-8 because it's 5 p.m. LA time, 8 p.m. New York time. At the time, LB still lived in Los Angeles. And and people come in and they chat and we have a great audience who we love, a really wonderful community of people, and they go into the chat room and comment about what we're talking about and stuff like that. And my Norton is popping up here, annoying.
Be a hack.
Yeah, and so it's become kind of this social thing also, in addition to us doing the show, which is really a lot of fun for us, and I think for the audience, and even for people who haven't watched it before to go in and kind of see people talking, and this person knows that person. I think it's fun. So we try to, we talk about very serious things, as you've been on the show, but we try to, we rant a lot. It's a blow off steam kind of show. And we try to, we have fun with it. We make jokes. We mock people when they need to be mocked. And but a lot of it's very serious. And I think it's cathartic for people to watch it. It's cathartic for us to do it and for people to watch it. So it's just on YouTube. It's called the 5-8, and we spell out FIVE and then the numeral 8 for some reason.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah.
Right, and I highly recommend people.
Thank you
watch
for
the
asking.
show.
Yeah.
Check it out. Absolutely, to check it out. I love doing it. Love doing the show. Let's get into some Trump talking points.
Okay.
What has been your reaction? Your reaction about the Trump hush money trial in New York City, now that both the prosecution and the defense, it looks like they've rested. What's your thoughts so far?
I mean, to be perfectly honest, I haven't followed it like obsessively like a lot of people have. I'm not really into courtroom dramatical stuff. I find it generally just kind of boring, but I'm not a lawyer. I don't ever want to be a lawyer. So I've just been, looking at the highlights basically and trying to go from there. And my takeaways are, first of all, I'm really glad that they did it. I'm glad that they indicted him, because there was some talk about if Alvin Bragg was ever going to do that, and he did, and I'm grateful that he did. So that's the first thing. And I think he's guilty of doing what they said he did, for sure. I mean, Michael Cohen was guilty of the same thing and went to prison, so it's pretty clear that Trump is also guilty. My main takeaway, I mean, there's a couple of them. The first thing is that I feel like, even though, Stormy Daniels, she's sort of the MacGuffin, I guess, from a film standpoint about, the whole thing, because it was hush money paid to her for her story, but lost, and that it's just the payment that's the trial, right? But there still was the event that happened to her. And I watched her on, I think it was 60 Minutes, when she first told the story about her encounter with Trump and what she was doing there and why she was in the room with him and all this. And it struck me as really sad and awful. Like she was, he promised her stuff. Like he promised to listen to her and take her seriously and consider her for opportunities.
Celebrity Apprentice, yeah.
Yeah, and he didn't, first of all, he never made do with that. And, it's such a gross way to exploit power that way. And I feel bad for her for, going through with anything. Because it feels like to me that she puts a brave face on it. But I feel like what he did to her is really actually kind of illegal. I mean, it is, certainly it's sexual misconduct of some kind. So I think that what I hope is that the trial, in the popular sense, gets people to focus more on Trump as a sexual predator, which he is and always has been. This is something, again, the media is very, very reluctant to talk about, even though E. Jean Carroll won the lawsuit. Like, he's an adjudicated rapist. That's why is that not like Donald Trump, adjudicated rapist, why don't we say that after everything that he does? and it speaks to our treatment of women in society, and it really bothers me. And this and Storm, she had to she had to be abused by him, and then she has to have this, kind of hijack her life for the last however many, 7, 8 years. That's not fair to her, and she's not getting anything out of this. It's not like she's, so I think that whole thing is pretty awful. But it's also good to, to highlight that the guy's a criminal. I mean, he's probably going to be found guilty. My guess is that they won't send him to jail for this. I think it's going to be too thorny to do that, but maybe they will. It'd be nice if they did. But, this week we could have a convicted former president of the United States, convicted of a crime in Manhattan. Not the borough of his birth, the borough that he had to join forces with the Gambinos to do business with. Because he's Genovese out in Queens, but still, that's where he always wanted to be. He always wanted to make it in Manhattan and be a big man in New York, and he's going to be a man that goes down in New York. Is what's going to happen.
Okay, we're a couple of years apart. I got you by just a couple of years in age. Was the first election you ever voted in Clinton in '92?
Yes.
Okay,
yeah.
I figured that by researching you. So, from that version of you in 1992, voting for the first time for Bill Clinton, and fast forward, would you think 32 years later that the Republican Party, obviously you were a Democrat, but that Republican Party, Papa Bush running against Clinton, that you would have a guy like Donald Trump owning lock, stock, and barrel the entire party with every bad trait, lie, not remotely qualified to be a bathroom attendant, in my opinion, being the candidate once again of the party for the presidency of the United States? Could you ever envision this?
Short answer, no. I mean, I don't think anybody did. Even the Russians didn't think he was ever going to be president. I mean, they didn't think that seriously in any serious way until April or May of 2016. And even on election night, they all thought he was going to lose. Trump thought he was going to lose. The Pences thought he was going to lose. The Russians thought he was going to lose. And, they won. And, the dog caught the bumper or whatever. And, we've been paying the price. So I didn't vote for Clinton in '88. I wrote in Al Gore because I was an idiot and I didn't understand how electoral politics works. Because I thought he was better. To be fair, I was right. But because I feel like Clinton's peccadillos, which he was warned about before that all happened. I know this, factually from the guy that warned him. That's cast such a pall over the entire Democratic Party for all this time because Hillary had nothing to do with that, but it reflects on her, and people have to line up behind him to defend him, which is it a good reason to impeach a president? Probably not, but he still did what he said, what he shouldn't have been doing. And I don't know. I just feel like that whole thing is just unfortunate that it had to happen that way, because I feel like the Republicans can't get over it. They haven't really ever gotten over that. And I think that, everything traces back to that, the original sin of the Clintons getting in there. I know that they don't like the Obamas certainly either. That was worse in their mind. But I think it was the Clintons was the first thing that did it. I think they just really couldn't stand him. And, and he made it, he gave them ammo, is what I'm trying to say. He gave them ammo against him and against his wife. And I feel like the ammo against his wife hurt her just enough in 2016 that it cost her the election. You can blame it on a lot of different things, but that's certainly one of the things that cost her the election.
Okay. Doomsday question. He wins in November, Trump, and it's a possibility. I tell people, okay, it's a possibility. Even convicted, it's a possibility. I mean, I know he's not growing his base. We could talk about polls are bullshit and all that. It's still a possibility because there's a lot of groups on the left that attack Biden too. I'm like, really? This is you want to do this comparison thing? Okay.
Yeah.
But with that said, doomsday question. If he wins in November, what becomes of America?
I mean, we have to listen to what he's been saying and what his acolytes have been saying. The Heritage Foundation, under the leadership of Kevin Roberts, a radical Catholic weirdo, who now heads that organization, has done this Project 2025 that I think people have heard about because it trends on Twitter every other day. And this is a project that the Heritage Foundation pulls all these other groups into, all these conservative kind of like, basically dictatorial fascists, I suppose you could say, groups. And it's a roadmap for what they want to do to the country. And they've made it very clear what they're going to do. Trump has said he wants to be a dictator on day one, and there's no reason to think that he won't be. If he's a dictator, that means that things will get done when he says they're going to get done rather than in a democratic way. So you're going to see, first of all, abortion is gone. That'll be criminalized in the states, all 50 states. They're going to come after contraception because the sort of thought leaders of this right-wing movement are radical Catholics. Leonard Leo, the radical Catholic from New Jersey, embarrassingly, but that's what he wants. They think that contraception is like against the will of God or some stupid fairy tale bullshit. So they're against that. They're going to crack down on that. They don't like gay people at all, and they're going to roll back, civil rights for gays and lesbians. The gay marriage will go away. All of that stuff. They're going to go after these court cases and overturn them that grants rights. They're going to strip rights away. That's one thing that they're going to. And trans people, obviously, they hate trans people more than anything, and they like to pretend trans people don't exist or sexualize them or say that they just exist so that men can put on dresses and dominate in swimming, which is so stupid. It's just like whatever. I don't even want to. That's a whole other tangent. So they're going to do that. They're going to take a battle axe to the federal government, to the bureaucracy. And I know people don't like the idea of bureaucracy, but what the functioning administrative side of the federal government does is things like make sure the Social Security checks go out on time, and make sure that the food, that if there's an outbreak of salmonella in some lettuce from somewhere, that we recall it. And, if there's a God forbid, another pandemic, that the CDC can do this, that, and the other. They want to get rid of all these people. They're going to fire 50,000, permanent government employees on day one, which they've already set up the mechanism to do.
And a loyalty test, right? Don't they want to do like a loyalty?
All of that stuff. And then they're going to go after everybody. He's going to go after his enemies. He's going to go after journalists. He's going to go after everybody. And they'll either try to round them up or they'll just do fake, bullshit lawsuits. And they own the judges at this point. Those judges aren't going to do anything. So it's going to be a bleak period of time if he wins. And I know that everybody rolls their eyes a little bit and like, come on, Greg, that's not. But you have to. If you listen to any fascism expert or academic who studies this stuff, and I've had a whole bunch of them on my show, on my podcast, and talk to them, they are all jumping up and down, screaming from the rooftops right now. This guy is like Hitler. This guy's like, this is what happened in Germany. We can't let this happen.
Ruth Ben-Ghiat came on my show. She talked about strongmen to him with this stuff.
She's the great resource. So it's a very real thing. And if you vote for the guy and he wins, you're not going to probably vote anymore. What they want is like rich, white, straight men to rule everything and everybody else be relegated to second-class citizen status. That's what they want. Yeah. And they're almost saying it. So there is a movement on the right. I know that we have a tendency to make fun of these people, and we should, because they're idiots and they're dumb and they do dumb things. But there is an intellectual side of all of the new right stuff, the neo-reactionary stuff, where they want they think dictatorship is good because it will cut through the red tape and get stuff done, and it's going to do this and it's going to do that, and people are more productive, whatever. They have their weird reasons for wanting it, but it's, there's a percentage of people that want this outcome. It's not everybody in this country wants democracy. So, it's really scary. And if there's a situation where the country fractures, which could happen, like let's say there's some new abortion law, okay, where if you leave Alabama to go get an abortion in another state, they're going to send federal marshals to go get you, okay, or state marshals from Alabama to go to New York to get you. Is New York going to track down the girl from the rape victim from Alabama who's gone to New York? No, we're not, because Hochul's going to say, fuck you. And then what's going to happen? There's going to be a constitutional crisis. The Supreme Court's going to side with Alabama. What's New York going to do? New York might say, you know what, we're out. Fuck off. Goodbye. And then you have civil war. And that's catastrophic in ways I think most people can't imagine.
Yeah.
As I think everybody says, yeah, we don't like this other side. I can't live with these people. They're so awful. But it doesn't break down neatly. It's not like all of the MAGA are in Mississippi and everybody else isn't. There's MAGA. I live in the bluest town that you could possibly live in. And there's people here. Yeah. It doesn't break down that neatly. And if there's a real civil war, if there's real violence and it really breaks down, it's just not going to be good. I had an expert who works for the government and does, use for U.S. aid and stuff overseas, and has spent a lot of time in like Iraq and Somalia and Syria and places like that. And there's checkpoints. And I asked her, like, what would it be like? And she was like, the Civil War thing is bonkers. I'm paraphrasing. She's like, the first thing is no more March Madness, no more Super Bowl, no more $5 gas, no more Starbucks, no more, like, the supply chains are going to get fucked up. There's going to be checkpoints, all the horrible things that we don't have to worry about. The ease of everything in this country that we take for granted will go away. And that's the ultimate bad outcome. That and violence and destruction, which we don't want.
You have people ratting each other out too.
Yeah,
your neighbor tells, oh, he's doing this. It'd be like it'd be like Monsters on Maple Street, the insanity. If you remember that episode of Twilight Zone. Yeah. Okay. What I want to talk about next, read something I'll talk about on the side. I want to talk about your new book that I'll be reviewing once I receive it in the mail. It's called Rough Beast. Here's the cover art, which is really, really cool. I know you got one in the background. There you go.
I got one here.
All right.
Yep.
I was watching, check out his Twitter page. He's got a trailer today that came out, and he's got different, what's it called? Graphics, the different Trump ones. Fantastic. Who did your artwork? I love it.
Donnie, the Chunk. We call him Chunk on the internet.
Oh, he does your show.
He does our show.
Great. He
does the animation. Yeah, he was great. The thing was really good. He did a great job with this.
Okay.
So,
like I said, check his trailer out with some hilarious illustrations by, as you said, Chunk. What I'd like you to do is give the viewers a synopsis of your book and what made you want to take that topic on to write about, even though I know that you did the other one about Trump and Russia. But talk about a synopsis of this book and what made you want to do this one.
Yeah. So thanks for asking. I have a Substack that I've been doing since November of 2019 that I update 3 times a week. So I've written hundreds of thousands of words about all these people, and I try to write, research the stuff and get down into the weeds with, kind of the key players and what they're doing, and try to get, speak to things other people aren't necessarily writing about. I did a lot of writing about Leonard Leo, for example, 2021, but now people are starting to finally report on the guy. So I have a lot in the archive about him and the MAGA people and Kushner and Giuliani and Trump. So I have a huge archive of stuff. And I thought, it's too much material. It's too confusing and complicated. I want to give people like a guidebook to make an argument to somebody, or for themselves to remind themselves, because we've been doing this shit for almost 8 years now. Everyone's tired. We're all exhausted, and maybe people have taken a step back the last couple of years, or essentially since Biden came in. And now they have to sort of ramp up going into the election season. So the book is also designed, I think, to help those people. And it's designed to give people that either are on the fence or they don't know, or they think Trump and Biden are the same, or, maybe your dad thinks that, I don't know, Biden's too old and whatever. So the book is basically, there's 3 different sections. There's 10 chapters. The first 4 chapters, I basically talk about who he is. First, he's a liar. He lies all the time. And we all know this. He's a liar. The second thing is that he's a criminal. He's, with organized crime, grew up in organized crime, was laundering money for the Russian mafia, and was eventually basically cultivated by the KGB and by the Kremlin. And that's, people, I think when you say that now, people kind of roll their eyes a little bit and think it's not real, but it's fucking real. So I talk about that, and that's, and I have a lot of research in here. I have a lot of sources and notes for all this stuff. It's not just me making shit up. Okay. The third thing is the pardons, because remember, in the last couple weeks of his presidency, he pardoned a lot of people. There was this flurry of pardons, which always happens. Lots of presidents pardon people and maybe regret it or whatever. The people that he pardoned, if you just go back and look at the list, it's really astonishingly corrupt.
Yes.
It's people that were friends with Jared, people that were friends with Rudy, this guy that used to have the illegal gambling casino, game going on in Trump Tower, uh, stuff like that. It's not something that he's abusing that power and making it cheap. LB, our friend, she likes to say that what Trump does is he shits on things that people hold sacred. That's what he does. And by doing those pardons, that's what he did with the whole pardon power, which is supposed to be it's almost like a godly power, the power to pardon. It's like a divine inspiration. And
Right.
he's just, pardoning the stalker buddy of Jared Kushner before the motherfucker even went to trial, which is disgusting. So there's that. And then also the fourth chapter, there's this narrative now that like things were better when Trump was president. They keep saying that over and over as if people will believe it. And they weren't. He sucked. He was the worst president ever. Like 1 million people died of COVID on his what? Like he is directly responsible for 300,000 Americans dying of COVID. Like if we had a better leadership, 300,000 people would still be alive. That's just statistically what happened based on his thing. People don't like to talk about COVID anymore. I think historically after plagues, people just like to move on and not look back on it, but it is true.
Yeah.
Completely corrupt, malevolent, awful, inept, just like mind-blowingly bad. And then he tried to overthrow the government. So that's the first 4 chapters. And then I talk about what he's going to do if he gets elected. First, the dictatorial stuff, how he's cultivating the Hitler thing, and he wants to be a dictator. Because dictators, as Ruth Ben-Ghiat, I'm sure, explained on your show, what they want is not to be held accountable to the law or anything.
Right.
That's what they want. Ultimately, they're not going to, the law doesn't apply to them. They're going to do whatever the fuck they want, and that's it. They're going to force the law onto other people. So, and then I talk about, I mentioned the new right, and I talk about the intellectual underpinnings of the movement for the Red Caesar, and I talk about Project 2025, and all these things that will happen if he gets elected, which people probably don't want to have happen, and most people, I suspect, don't know anything about. Then I talk about how the GOP is not like your grandfather's GOP anymore. Like the Republican Party's dead. It's a zombie party. It's been taken over by MAGA, and it's brains, sure, it's like a horror movie at this point. So if you think, well, I've always voted Republican, and great, but this is not what you're voting for anymore. Romney, these guys, they're out. McCain is dead. Romney's retiring. They're all stepping back. This is the party of Trump and Jim Jordan and Matt Gaetz and Marjorie Taylor Greene and Lauren Beetlejuice or whatever. And that's who is the party. And these are not people that do anything that Republicans are supposed to be good at. Family values. Again, Beetlejuice. She was giving the guy a hand job in a matinee of Beetlejuice, right? And they're all gross like that.
Yes.
And hypocritical and disgusting.
Yeah.
National security. What national security? The guy capitulated to Putin. Just capitulated disgustingly. I mean, there's no the whole tax, the fiscal thing. Trump added almost $8 billion to the deficit. Mm-hmm. I'm sorry, $8 trillion.
Right. I was going to say, right.
So, and not all because of COVID, it's because of the tax breaks and everything else.
Yeah.
So this idea that they're going to rein in spending is it's horseshit. It's just not true. Historically, Republican presidents never do that. They say they're going to do it, and then they don't do it. The Democrats come in, they do it, and then the cycle begins anew because the Republicans they're very good at pretending to be somebody who they're not. So this is who the party is now and what it's become. And anyway, I make that case, and then I talk about third parties and how you can't voting. There's kind of this idea. And I, when I was young, I did stupid things. I voted for Ralph Nader in 2000, which was dumb. But I lived in New York, and I knew Al Gore would win New York, so whatever. But third parties. Michael Moore said in 2000, the lesser of two evils is still evil. He would say, and that's how they get you with this idea. But the way that the American political system is designed, the architecture of the system, it is a two-party system. It just is. It's not design. It's not a parliament system like Canada has or the European countries. It's a two-party system. There's good points and bad points about it, but that's it. The third party cannot win. It's baked into the system. So you're not voting for the lesser of two evils if you're voting for RFK or Cornel West or whoever the fuck. You're not voting for the lesser. You're voting for the greater of two evils, in effect, because you're voting for the major candidate that you like least, and that's just true. So that's a terrible thing. And I think a lot of kids, especially with the the protests and stuff like that are anti-Biden, and they're at risk, I think, of doing these protest votes, would be a huge catastrophic mistake.
Yeah,
especially for that generation, which is the one that's going to need all the abortions and not be able to get them.
Exactly. I was going to get into Project 2025, but there's really more to it that I want to do. So what I want to do is save that and bring you back on for a Project 2025 show, because I know from LB told me you're really good on it, but I don't want to just touch on one or two things. It's too important. So
yeah,
in the near future, sooner than later, I'm going to bring you on just for a Project 2025 show, if you're cool with that.
Yeah, of course. I'd love to.
Yeah,
thanks.
We'll definitely do that. Like I said, I don't just want to hit on one or two things. It's too important. Final thing before we go into a commercial break. What do you say to the people that don't understand, the whole inflation thing? Because I know that hits everybody, but how the right distorts it. They don't like to hear that, our inflation is less than anywhere in the world and it's gotten better, but they don't really understand it because, some people are, they feel they're paying more at the gas pump or whatever the case may be. What is your pushback on and I don't know if you talked about it in your book about the whole inflation thing, because I know that is a big deal for people, especially ones that don't really understand inflation. In simple terms, what would you say about that?
I mean, it's not a problem. It is a thing that is concerning. It's also not something that the president really has any direct control over, because, the interest rates are determined by the Fed, which is an independent entity. I mean, Biden could theoretically muscle in and try to influence, which Trump did, but he's not going to do that because of who he is. So it's an independent entity, and they're going to go with, trying to keep inflation down. The problem is prices are higher than before. I mean, they really are. It's not, it's impossible not to see that. If you look at like cat food is like 3 times as expensive as it was 10 years ago, 5 years ago, even before the pandemic. And that's just one of many things. This is companies gouging. They put the prices up during the pandemic, and then they kept them up even though they didn't need to be up anymore. So it's really price gouging, and it's awful, and it's greed. It's unchecked greed.
Yeah.
Trump is not going to do a damn thing about that.
No, he's not.
There is I worry about it a little bit, because I think that, especially the interest rates with houses and mortgages, like a lot of people my age or in my generation have homes and they have equity in their houses, and that's the thing that they have that's the most valuable. If you can't extract equity from your house or refinance because the interest rates are twice what they were when you financed originally, that really hampers your financial ability to do a lot of things, whether it's send kids to school or, start a small business or whatever. So it really does fuck the economy in a major way. And I worry that might hurt Joe a little bit. The gas is always up and down. I think
right. The president has no control over the gas.
We're less dependent on foreign gas now than I think we ever have been. So I don't think that's as big of an issue, but there's a point at which the deficit and the debt is going to, they're not wrong when they talk about that, but it shouldn't be the primary driver of what we're doing. As long as the dollar is still everything's pegged to the dollar on the world stage, we can do whatever the fuck we want, basically. We just have to be careful. We don't ever want to lose that. If we lose that, then we're fucked. If we move to the yuan or whatever, then we're screwed. Then the debt really becomes a problem and things start to collapse fast. But I don't know how big of a deal it's going to be in the election cycle, though. There's too many other things that are more, I think, getting people madder.
Gotcha. All right. On that note, we're going to take a short commercial break. Hey folks, this is Bad Brad Berkwitt, the host of the Bad Brad Berkwitt Show on the Ringside Report web TV channel. And I want to talk to you about sponsorship. If you're interested in being a sponsor on the Bad Brad Berkwitt Show that features network guests and entertainers and people from all walks of life in business and other areas, reach out to me at ringsidereport2014@gmail.com. Again, that's ringsidereport2014@gmail.com. I'm finally in a position that I'm ready to take on sponsors. So, hey, reach out to me and let's get you on board. I want to talk to you about my book, Boxing Interviews of a Lifetime. If you watch my show, The Bad Brett Berkwitt Show, you know that I love doing 360 conversations with all types of people. Well, I made my bones in boxing over a quarter of a century ago, interviewing world champion boxers, people in the sport, and entertainers that love the sport of boxing, which led to my induction into the Florida Boxing Hall of Fame in June of 2021. And that's the ring that you see me wear all the time on my show. Well, if you like to pick up my book, Boxing Interviews of a Lifetime, go to authorhouse.com. Again, it's authorhouse.com. And if you would like to get it personally inscribed or inscribed for somebody that you're sending it to as a gift, you can reach out to me and we can arrange for something as well. All right, we're now back with Greg wearing his Plan 9 from Outer Space. Like I said, there's the trivia question. Who directed that movie? Leave it in the comments on the video when it goes live. All right, we're going to do the back end of the 360 conversation. It's just fun, random questions. There's no right or wrong answers. Whatever pops in your head is the answer, okay?
Okay.
What is your favorite genre of movies?
It depends on my mood. You know, there's different genres for different times. There's ones I don't like. I don't like horror movies really at all. I don't like movies with like car chases, like that Fast and the Furious, so whatever the hell it is. I don't care about that. I mean, I like comedies. I like, thrillers. I like, good movies. I like some superhero movies, but most no. I don't know. It just kind of depends. I'll just watch. I'll watch Casablanca over and over again, and I'll watch Diamonds Are Forever over and over again for some reason. I don't know.
Okay.
I like James Bond movies.
Me too. So, all right, and that was actually the next question. So you can watch favorite movie over and over, Casablanca. That. So I would assume, but I'm going to ask you still. Your favorite Bond is?
The actor, you mean?
Yes.
Or the movie?
No, actor.
Sean Connery. It's always Connery. Yeah.
Of course. Okay, who's your second?
That's hard. I think, certainly not Pierce Brosnan. The guy, Timothy Dalton, wasn't terrible, but I don't know, the movies weren't good. I like Daniel Craig as an actor, but I don't like him as Bond. He just doesn't look Bondy to me, even though like Skyfall is a really, really good movie.
It is.
I kind of actually thought I saw it in the theater, and it turns out I didn't, and I never saw it before. And I was flipping around, I'm like, I'll watch this again. And I'm watching it. I'm like, half an hour, and I'm like, I don't remember this. And then I realized I just never seen it before. That movie's awesome. It's really, really good.
So you only have two left: Roger Moore and George Lansby, who was in the first one only.
Yeah, the Lansby was in On Her Majesty's Secret Service.
Right.
And Roger Moore's number 2. Moore's number 2.
Mine too.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Favorite TV show or a TV show that you never missed a single episode of is?
I mean, favorite or best? Because they're two different things.
Okay, give me your favorite and your best.
I mean, The Wire is the best show. That's the best
Okay.
TV show. Just is.
Okay.
I don't think, it's an argument for what's number 2, I think, at that point. I think there's strata of shows, I think, The Sopranos and Breaking Bad and Mad Men and those things all belong in the same kind of strata. I'll tell you a couple shows that I like that other people probably haven't seen. One of them is called The Patriot, which is on Amazon. And it's a terrible title, but it's about a guy who's a non-official cover. And I can't even describe it. It's so weird and cool, but that was awesome. There's 2 seasons of that. Really enjoying Severance, which is we're waiting for season 2 to come out of Severance. And then what else? I think my favorite thing that I've seen in the last couple of years is probably the 2nd season of White Lotus, I have to say, where they're in Sicily, the one where they're in Sicily.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
Mhm.
Tough question. So if you can't answer favorite, 1 or 2 that you love listening to, musical bands from any era.
Musical bands from any era. Okay, this is something my son asks me all the time, so I should have a better answer for you. I'll just do the first ones that pop in my head. I love the Kinks. I think the Kinks are like underrated.
Mm-hmm.
They're just awesome. And let's see. I love Sufjan Stevens for the, the now kind of thing. So
Okay.
those are two. That's two. That's enough.
Okay. Off the top of your head, what is one memorable childhood memory that you can tell the viewers?
Uh that's a tough one. Is your memory going? I felt like my memory's going a little bit. Trying to I'm trying to
You
think
know
of
what? My short term is going to shit, but I can remember stuff back. And Deb's like, "How do you remember that? You can't remember where your glasses are." Hey, it is what it is.
I know. I know. It is what it is. I do remember my earliest memory was having a conversation with my aunt about what she was going to name my cousin. And I'm like 20 months older than him, maybe. So I was like a year and a half. And in my mind, this was a perfectly normal conversation like you and I are having. But clearly it
Right.
wasn't because I was too little. But I know that I expressed I liked one name and not the other. And I feel like she walked away knowing my preference, which she ignored. And so
Okay.
that's it. Being on the
Okay.
swing. Yeah.
Gotcha. What is your favorite noise or sound that you like to hear?
It's a good question. I don't even have an answer for it. Um, some kind of music, I suppose.
Okay.
But I don't know. I don't know.
All
I've got
right.
no answer.
See
I
if
don't
you
know.
can answer the flip side of it. What is your least favorite noise or sound you like to hear? You don't like to hear, I should say.
We had a thing in our house a couple years ago where the roof leaked and it flooded in the house and everything. So I really don't like, heavy rain anymore. Like it I don't like mice in the walls and I don't like heavy rain. Those are
Okay.
two things I don't like. Yeah.
Okay. Do you have a favorite food that you just love to eat all the time?
I
Or
mean,
you
I'm
cook it all
Italian.
the
I eat
time?
pasta. I make pasta. I make sauce and I eat pasta.
You good cook?
I'm good at the four things that I know how to make.
And
I make
then
those things well. Yeah.
what's the
Yeah.
four?
I can make sauce in various forms, either meat sauce or sauce with brujol, or sometimes with you can use zucchini with the red sauce. I can make what my grandmother called oily, which is wheelio, which is with the anchovies and yeah, I can make that. In fact, now I make it for the family because I make it better than my grandmother did.
Okay.
And I make good chili.
Okay.
So those are the things.
What is the first job you ever had, either on the books or off the books?
I worked at the public library in Madison and I got fired because I was
Ah,
talking too much. Um, although I was talking, giving people who were asking me questions who wanted to know where books were located. So it was a little bit weird, but there. The best job I had at that time was working at McDonald's in Florham Park. It was actually really fun. Like I still think back to the cast of characters in there was absolutely fascinating. And
okay.
almost it was like a TV show in some ways. So
I worked
it
there
really
for about
was.
a week. Yeah, in Bedford Hills, New York, believe it or not, in 1984. Favorite with you and the missus, favorite vacation destination is?
Well, we haven't gone away very much with the kids, here. They're going to school. We're going to be able to go away. So, we're going to try to recreate our honeymoon, which is we went to Paris and then took the train to Rome and stopped places in between. So that was
Okay.
nice. Yeah.
Talking about your kids, I was doing research and I saw an article from 2011, I think in Hudson Valley. One of your books came out in 2011.
Hmm.
Something, what was it called? I forget the name of it now.
Hudson,
Something,
the book,
yeah,
Father Mucker.
there you go, Father Mucker. And there was a picture of you, and I think, is your son's name Dominic, if I remember
Hmm.
correctly? And
Yeah.
he was in the back. Was he with the curly hair or the young one? Which one was
The
Dominic?
picture, the picture in Hudson Valley Magazine, which was a full page picture. It
Right.
was a nice picture. Those aren't my kids.
Oh shit. Okay.
It was
Well, they
like
were cute.
yeah, I know. They're younger. My kids at the time were older
Okay.
than the characters in the book, so they put those they were like the editor's kids or something.
Okay.
So yeah.
Cute kids though. When
Yeah,
I
they
saw
were.
the name Dom, I thought it was a kid with the curly hair because he looked like
Yeah.
he had Italian. Okay. Greg, if you could meet one person any time in history, dead or alive, any walk of life, who would you like to meet And what would be something you'd like to talk to that individual that you pick about?
Oh God, that's a hard question because okay, realistically, right off the bat, you have to eliminate anybody that doesn't speak English because I wouldn't be able to talk to them. So that eliminates quite a few people. Uh,
Well,
I guess I mean,
you had an interpreter in that case. If it's someone,
well, it's not the same. I'd
okay,
want to know I'm not a big Shakespeare guy, even though I majored in English lit, but it would be cool to hang with him, I think. Um, Byron and Shelley were really fun. Actually this is the answer. Byron and Shelley with Shelley's wife, Mary Shelley, who wrote Frankenstein,
Frankenstein,
and
yeah,
Byron's girlfriend went to, I think they were on Lake Geneva, somewhere like that. And they were there for the winter in this kind of spooky house, just hanging out and doing arty things and talking about poetry. And that's when she started to write Frankenstein. But that seems like that's the most high art, awesome concentration of stuff that you could have, where also the people would be fun,
okay,
because Shelley and Byron they were fun. I think they were
okay.
fun.
So you have me think of two things that I'll bring up off of your Frankenstein one. I think
Okay.
it's just my opinion. You don't have to agree with me, but I think the worst Frankenstein is one of my favorite actors. I thought he was horrible. Was Robert De Niro as Frankenstein? I thought that was terrible. If you saw it, oh, I thought forget about it. But I must laugh that Frankenstein and Young Frankenstein, played by Peter Boyle, and the scene when he goes in the shack where Gene Hackman is a lot of people don't know that. I know you know you're buff. That Gene Hackman was the blind guy, and he pours the soup, and Peter Boyle's laughing. Young Frankenstein, he runs out. He runs out the shack. What did you think of Peter Boyle in Young Frankenstein?
I have a confession to you. I've seen History of the World 50 or 60 times,
Okay,
and I've seen Blazing Saddles 30 or 40 times,
you
and I've
never
seen
saw it.
Spaceballs 20, but for some reason I never saw the whole movie of Young Frankenstein. So
Okay,
I have no opinion. I don't know.
okay, you got
Yeah.
to watch it. I'm curious to see what you think. I thought it was hilarious,
Yeah. I
hilarious.
love Mel Brooks. I don't know. It's just never I had it too. I just
Okay,
never came up,
Blazing
never came
Saddles,
up.
classic. All right, with everything we discussed tonight, in a few thoughts, how would you sum yourself up, Greg, as a human being?
Uh uh I don't know. That's a stumpy question. You gotta give me more time to think about this. I don't know. I like to think that I'm trying my best to help everybody and help the situation and you know, look around at what's happening in the world and taking whatever I can do to, tell people about stuff and using my talents to that effect rather than some dumb fucking thing that doesn't matter. Like, we all want to be able to like do our art and write what we want to write and all this, but right now it's not time. It's the fucking house is on fire and it's it's incumbent on people to stop and put the fire out before we continue to do other things. I don't know. That's my feeling about it. So, for
Okay.
better or for worse. Yeah.
Final question. What is your message or hope for humanity? Because this show is all about moving humanity forward. And I tell people, democracy is absolutely important, but humanity is on this ticket too come November. Because the MAGA they lack humanity. Trump lacks humanity, and everyone around him fucking lacks. I think that might be my first fuck on the show. You outdid me. People are gonna say you're slacking, Brad. What the fuck?
Fuck
I
yeah.
got two
Yeah.
two fucks in there. But seriously, humanity is on this ticket too, and people forget that he
Yeah.
is an existential. Donald John Trump is an existential threat to democracy and humanity. So, with that said, what is your message or hope for humanity?
I mean, it's every Sunday on my Substack, I write what I call Sunday pages because I write all this horrible stuff, about these horrible people. And on Sunday, I write about like a poem or a movie or a book or some piece of art that I like. It's never something I don't like. It's always something that I like or that moves me or that I want to talk about or whatever. And I kind of bring it all together and weave it in stuff that's happening now. And it's always my favorite thing to write during the week. And it's generally the audience's favorite, the readership. They like to read it generally as well. And I always try to be hopeful. I always try to land hopefully. So, I'm an optimist. I have hope for people. I think that most people are good inherently. And There's a very small percentage of awful, evil people who are sociopaths. And unfortunately, capitalism is designed to, and capitalism and politics as currently constructed they reward psychopathy. So we have psychopaths and sociopaths in positions of power and presiding over enormous wealth. And that's the big problem. But most people are not like that. And I think most people, including MAGA people, by the way, most people are good. And, I really I really do think that. And here's a quote from, I can't remember who wrote it. It was like a painting. It was the caption on this kind of kid's painting. And let me see, I don't want to butcher the quote. It's, and every day she would cry, not because she was sad, but because the world was so beautiful and life was so short. And I think that's like, it expresses the hopefulness and the bounty of stuff that's out there. I mean, there's so much out there. There's so many good people to meet and talk to. And that's one, silver lining of this, unpleasant subject matter that we talk about, is getting to meet really great people that I wouldn't have met otherwise at all. I mean, there's no way I would I wouldn't know you, if I wasn't doing this stuff. And I'm grateful for all of that. And I think, that gives me hope for humanity also, because I really do think that most people, that's what they want. And if we get to the point where we can have, give the people what they want and allocate the resources a little better. Elon Musk doesn't need all that money. Fuck that guy. For example,
Yeah.
Give it to somebody who could actually do something like, you have $44 billion. You're going to buy something so you can platform fucking cat turd. Come on. Anything better to do? It's just ridiculous. These are sad incel Nazis. Like, why are you doing that?
Because he gets joy from it. He's a sick fuck. I have to push back, and I respect your opinion, and you're entitled to your opinion. Yeah. Only thing I disagree with is MAGA's no fucking good. They're rotten to their core. Well, I don't see anything, because here's my thing. You had, as a military person, you had January 6th to get off that fucking train. And if that didn't prove to you what the fuck this guy is and was and still is, I think that you're gone. You said earlier about zombies walking around. I feel they're fucking zombies, because you're aligning yourself with a guy that gives you nothing. He takes your money and make it make sense. He's a billionaire, but he asks you for money. He's not Elon. Don't get me wrong. Elon's selling a product. I get it. Trump is just begging for money. He's Joel Osteen in them without the fucking religion. Really, I mean, seriously. And you don't see Trump. He doesn't have a Ferrari and a Lamborghini that there's only one of one. That's not his shtick.
He doesn't drive.
What's that?
He doesn't drive.
No,
has he ever driven a car in his life?
Yeah, no. I think honestly, I hear what you're saying. A lot of people say, when it comes to MAGA at this point, I think they're fucking rotten to their core. Do I think that they want the same things that we do? Sure. Of course they do. They want to make a living. They want to send their kids to college. All of those normal things. We actually have more things in common than we don't. But that evil side of them, the racism, the misogyny, the homophobic shit, the xenophobe, all of that, they don't run from it. They jump on it. And anybody would you talked about, I'm calling him Philip Buchanan, that's cat turd. You got the former fucking president of the United States and his douchebag, as I call him, Tutu Jr. and fucking Gums Jr. or not Jr. Gums Trump retweeting a fucking guy named Cat Turd. Make it make sense. Cat turd, a fucking turd in a doggone litter box. But I hear you. I respect your opinion, and I actually wish it was more like what you said than what I'm saying. But I think them motherfuckers are gone. I think they're the walking dead, whatever it is.
I think we're both right in a sense. Like, you're right about everything you just said. I don't disagree. I just mean, like, if you go to a MAGA thing, people are nice. I know people that go to these things to report, and everyone's nice to them. Everyone's sweet as can be, and maybe they're nice to them because they're white and whatever. But
but as sweet as they can be, while they're telling them Putin is a good guy, and them gays, we don't want them gays. And yeah, they say it very nicely, but they're fucking rotten. They're standing.
You know what? You know what, Brad? You convinced me. Fuck them.
Yeah, no, I didn't. But that's okay. I still respect your opinion, brother. Okay, I want to close with a couple thoughts, and I'm going to give you back the microphone to close out completely. First of all, Greg, thank you again for coming on. I appreciate it tonight.
No, it was a real pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Like I said, I'm gonna bring you back on. We're gonna do just the Project 2025 show because my viewers have been asking for it, and LB said you would be a good person to talk to. So I definitely want to do just a show focused on that as well. Thank you for using your platform to move humanity forward, fight for democracy, be on the right side of history, push back on these fucking people like Trump and Bannon and Flynn and all these jagoffs that aren't about this country, Christian nationalism and all that bullshit. So I appreciate that because you don't have to do it. I tell people, you don't have to do any of this. You don't have to because it comes at a cost and it's not always monetary. I get death threats, I get all that type of shit. I don't give a shit. You know, I'm not going to remain silent while these people destroy this country because, there's aspects of this country that I absolutely can't stand, but there's more that I love. And that's the aspects of this country that I'm going to fight for, not that evil bullshit. So I appreciate it. And I thank you for using your show to 5-8 and your Substack and everything else and your Twitter page, because I'll never call it X. Sounds like fucking porno. Not that I got a problem with porno, but it's a stupid name, dumbass. When he walked in with the fucking sink, doggone Elon. Could have done so much good with it, and he could have been fair. He could have gone right down the middle, let the right speak, let the left speak, let us have it out, but not replatforming people like Nick Fuentes or Donald Trump or these other scumbags that bring nothing. They're, as Malcolm Nance told me on my show last year, complete black hearts. They have black fucking souls, these people. So thank you for what you do. Now I want to give you back the mic. Anything you want to say, close out with?
Oh my God, you just said something that made me think of something. And now, of course, it floated out of my brain because that's how my brain operates now. Oh God, what was I going to say?
Black hearts, Elon Musk.
No, it was before that. It was before in the talking about the people and the thing and I don't know. I think, first of all, thank you also for having me on and for platforming all the people that you platform and getting all the word out about stuff. And we have to do it. It's like this at the end of the day, this is I know what I was going to say. This is our country. These are our lives. These are our kids. This is our land, all this stuff. My philosophy is seed, no ground. Seed with CEDE. Mm-hmm. Seed, no ground. Yeah. So I'm not leaving Twitter. I'm not leaving New York. I'm not leaving the United States. I'm not fucking leaving for these fuckers. And, that's it. And I think that should be all of our, positions. I don't want to leave. I want to stick around and defend. They talk about this stuff all the time. We need to defend the country from no, you're the bad guys, you dumbasses. You're the Nazis.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's so many movies where the Nazis are bad. There's literally no movies where Nazis are good. How could these people grow up in this culture and think, it's good? Nazis. Yeah. I like Darth Vader. It's a good guy.
Yeah, the only Nazis that they laughed at because they were meant to be laughed at was on Hogan's Heroes. Colonel Klink and the Nazis there, they made fun of him. And in the producers, Mel Brooks again, with Zero Mostel and Gene Wilder, Dick Shawn played Hitler. Springtime for Hitler in Germany, but they laughed at it because they mocked him. There's nothing funny about Nazism. He puts up the thing and then they all scuttle like fucking rats. Oh, he retweeted it. He knew what the fuck it said about the Third Reich and that bullshit that he put out. He knows everything that he's fucking doing. I know he's crazy, but he ain't that fucking crazy. He's well aware of the shit that he says and he puts out because that's what he believes.
Yeah, no, that's true. And I think if there's one takeaway from tonight, that's the takeaway. Trump has always been a Hitler guy and he was more quiet about it. But the minute he came down that stupid golden fucking escalator, what was it about? The Mexicans the rapists,
and
the bad
murderers.
People. Yeah.
But I'm sure some of them are okay.
Yeah. It's right off the bat. That's Nazi shit.
Yeah.
Make America Great Again is Nazi shit.
Yeah.
It's isolationism is Nazi shit. This is just, closing the border and sealing it or whatever the fuck they want to do. That's Nazi shit. It's all that's, rounding people up is absolutely Nazi shit.
Oh, yeah.
So
well, you said to that talking point, you said earlier, our greatest, to me personally, as a European Jew and an Italian, the MAGA's going to love that. Whenever I say I'm European Jew, they come at me. Oh, you should see the Jewish stuff. And it's like wash, repeat, rinse. It's the same fucking lines. It's like, read it, okay, they can't come up with nothing original. But our greatest strength to me in this country is our diversity. Because you can go live in another country, but you come here, you become an American. You become what this country is all about, the American dream. And they want to take that away because they don't like that it's becoming less and less white and becoming more and more what it really is, a diverse group. And this fucking country, as I've said many times on my show, was built on the back of immigrants. The only problem I have with some people that become citizens, that they assimilate into this shit and they forget what their ancestors endured. Look, I get on people that now talk about Martin Luther King is anything but a civil rights icon. I don't care about the infidelity, the career. That's all, it's known. I'm not putting it out there so they don't know. But what he did and ultimately cost him his life, young kids today are listening to his bullshit that he wasn't what he was because the right says, Charlie Kirk says, Charlie fucking Kirk, who walks around with more, he's a fucking poster child for Clearasil, that fucking little prick.
He doesn't even know how to comb his hair.
He doesn't even know, right. He's an arrogant son of a bitch. But he tells them Martin Luther King wasn't this. Or he doesn't like seeing a black pilot because it's probably a diverse DEI hire. Yet you see white, I guarantee you Trump's pilots on his plane are not African-American. And they just hit a fucking other plane. If you don't know that, they hit a plane on a fucking runway. They bumped into a plane. Trump Force One. Yeah. So I agree with you what you said earlier about, you basically said diversity and the strength about immigrants talking about.
Absolutely.
So on that note, we'll close out again. I'm going to bring you back on for a Project 2025 show. So people watching this, make sure you like the video, make sure you share it, leave comments below. Remember the trivia question of his shirt, that's Plan 9 from Outer Space. Here's your homework question. And Greg, again, thank you so much for coming on.
No, it was a pleasure, Brad. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
All right. Take care.